Not a former CIA officer so moved by the plight of the people of Afghanistan, she put her lifelong dream of finishing law school on hold to help resettle refugees in the United States. Joining me now, Geeta Bakshi. Geeta, good morning to you. You are such an impressive person. Joined the CIA in the aftermath of 9/11, spent years hunting down al-Qaeda terrorists, and you felt so moved. You had a calling when Afghanistan collapsed to the Taliban in August. Tell us what you're doing now.
Carly, thank you so much for inviting me to be here. Yes, indeed. What I am doing now is focusing on helping Afghan partners and their families. And what I mean by Afghan partners is those that worked alongside American troops for decades, helping them resettle into their new homes here in the U.S.
And how is that going?
You know, it has been a wonderful experience, overwhelming. I think that the volume of individuals that have come here and the needs that are most critical, that's what we're mostly focused on. My team and I, while small, have been very effective in trying to get help to the people who need it most.
And the way you're doing that is by you're trying to get them jobs, go to school, integrate families into local communities. A lot of these people have never been to the United States before, so this is, I'm sure, a big culture shock for them.
It is, but you know, Afghan partners that worked alongside U.S. troops, they were really in many ways exposed to the American culture. Many of them do speak English. Many of them have been expecting or hoping to apply for SIVs and come here in previous years. This was just an unprecedented experience for them, having to come in such a large volume. But really, many of the Afghan partners that worked alongside American troops, they're very familiar with the U.S. culture. Now it's just a matter of them getting comfortable and integrated into their new communities.
Yeah, you know, you talk about those Afghan partners who did so much for us. Do you have any sense of how many people in Afghanistan who worked for the U.S. government are still stuck there and who want to come to the United States?
You know, my organization is not focused so much on the side of the evacuations and what's happening in Afghanistan still, but we do know that a lot of U.S. partners, a lot of Afghan partners of the U.S. who have made it here, we relied upon them for our security and our accomplishments from the first day to the last day, and really we're focused on helping them get on their feet here and be successful contributing members of American society.
You know, Geeta, I was just reading that nearly half of media organizations in Afghanistan have shut down since the Taliban takeover, which does not bode well for freedom in that country. Do you have any sense of what it's like to be living in Afghanistan right now?
You know, I imagine that there is a lot of hardship being faced right now by Afghan people, especially for the families of those Afghan allies of the U.S. government that unfortunately were left behind. I know that there are groups working hard to both get aid to Afghans out there and to try to come to some kind of agreement with the Taliban to be able to do more on the ground to help people there.
Yeah, and you know, I do want to ask you a national security question because nobody knows more about al-Qaeda than you. The Taliban says that they're not going to work with the United States to fight extremism. How big of a national security threat is terrorism to the U.S. going forward?
You know, Carly, I'm confident that U.S. intelligence community is working hard, as they always have, to keep abreast of any kind of threats to the U.S. Will there be challenges now that we're not in Afghanistan? I'm sure there will be, but I think the U.S. intelligence community has shown that they can keep the U.S. safe. It's a matter of continuing that effort, even working hard to ensure that now that we're not in Afghanistan.
All right, Geeta Bakshi, thank you so much for all the good work that you are doing to help the people of Afghanistan who helped us have a better life here in the United States. Appreciate you joining us this morning.
Thank you so much, Carly, and we appreciate everyone's support for FAMIL.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.